Hey everyone, and welcome to this second round of AWS unboxing services. So for those that do not know me, my name is Sérgio Diogo. I'm a senior consultant at SmartWave here in Geneva, Switzerland, where I help customers through their AWS journey. If you didn't watch the first round of AWS unboxing services, shame on you, because it's like going to Rome and do not see the Pope, or it's like going to Vegas and do not get married. Well, more or less. Anyway, if you did watch the first round of AWS unboxing services, you remember that we went through the setup of the landing zone, which is the first step for you to be able to manage and govern your multi-account environment. Once you have your landing zone set up, you can then perform actions like creating or registering organizational units. You can create new accounts or enroll existing accounts. You can also manage users, access, and permissions to your multi-account environment using single sign-on. And of course, you can enable additional guardrails. Okay? So, this said, the focus of our second round of AWS unboxing services will be on how we can bring an existing account that was not created with Control Tower to the management and governance of Control Tower. Okay, so stay tuned and let's jump into the console. AWS Unboxing Services, AWS Unboxing Services. And here we are on the AWS console on the Control Tower dashboard page, where we can see a summary of what have been registered so far on Control Tower. And more important, you can see different status reports that are reporting on violations against the detective guardrails that are enabled, of course. Detective guardrails that basically consist of rules implemented through AWS config and AWS Lambda functions. And so these reports will let you know if you are compliant or not on regards to those rules. And if not, you can then take the necessary actions to bring your environment back to a compliant status. Here, for example, we can see that there is an S3 bucket which is violating a detective guardrail that prevents the existence of S3 buckets that do not have versioning enabled. So you can go to the resource, to this S3 bucket and enable versioning, or you can decide to disable this guardrail if versioning is not important for you. And of course, you can disable it because it's not a mandatory guardrail. Otherwise, you could not. But let's focus on the subject of this second round, which is how we can enroll an existing account into our Control Tower organization. And for this, we have two options. Option number one is to use Account Factory to enroll the existing account. Option number two is to register or re-register an organizational unit that holds one or more enrolled accounts. Okay, so let's start with option number one. AWS Unboxing Services, AWS Unboxing Services. So on the left menu, I'm going to click on Account Factory, and as you can see here on the top, we have an option to enroll an account. So let me click. And we are now on a new page where we are asked to enter different account details. This same page is not only used to enroll an existing account, but also to create a new account that will be automatically managed and governed by Control Tower. What will dictate one process or the other is the email address you are going to provide here. So if you provide an email that is already associated with an account, you are then enrolling an existing account. If the email is not yet linked to an existing AWS account, you are then creating a new account. But before we proceed, let me warn you about the email address. Make sure you check, you double check, you triple check you call your neighbor, you call your dog, you call whoever you want to validate that the email you are submitting here exists, and more important, that you have access to it. Otherwise, you will end up with an account that is going to be associated with this control tower, on which you can access through the single sign-on portal, but you will not be able to log into that account as the root user. If you remember, the root account is identified by the email address that has been provided while you are creating the account. And there are a set of tasks that you can only perform once you are logged into your account as the root user. So things like changing your email address. So if you have a wrong email address, you will not be able to modify it. And also, if you want to terminate an account and start the process again with a proper email address, you also need to log with the root user. Otherwise, you cannot terminate an account. So it's very important that you make sure that this is the right email address, okay? This said, if someone from AWS is watching this video, I would suggest it will be awesome if you could send at least an verification email to the address we are submitting here before enabling a new AWS account. Okay. Second field is the display name. And as it says, this is the name that is going to be associated with your account and will be displayed on the control tower page and also on the single sign-on portal. And it sounds quite straightforward, but it's not the case. So listen to this carefully, okay? Are you paying attention? So let's go. If you are enrolling an existing account, no matter what you put here, it's not going to change anything. The name remains the same. On the other hand, if you are creating a new account, then the name you are providing here is the name that is going to be associated with your account. So for me, what would make sense is to only have this field being displayed in the case where the email provided is not yet associated with an account. But the issues with display name do not stop here. Because if you read here below, it says spaces are not allowed. And why not? Really, why not AWS? I mean, we can still create accounts with spaces on its name if we are going through AWS organizations. So basically, we can create an account with spaces on it and then enroll it to Control Tower, and we end up having an account with spaces on it. So why are you preventing us to create an account through Control Tower with spaces? Okay, so I will answer this one for you. The thing is that if we are going to enroll an account through this method here, and the account for which we are providing the email has spaces on it, this process will fail because Account Factory will not be able to deploy the Control Tower execution role on the target account, on the account you are enrolling. And this role gives Control Tower admin rights on the target account. So that's why it is going to fail. However, if you go into that account you are trying to enroll and manually you deploy the Control Tower execution role, then if you come back here and try again the enrollment process, this time it will succeed. Oh yeah. So AWS, I'm sure that with some minimal effort, you can sort this out, right? Next one is the single sign-on user. So we need to provide here the email address of the user that will be granted admin rights on this account. And by now I'm pretty sure you are already wondering what is wrong with this field. Well, there is nothing wrong with this field, but with the other two below that are linked to this one. Because if you are providing an email address that is already defined on your single sign-on directory, it doesn't matter what you put here on the first and last name field. It's not going to change the information that is already saved and stored on your single sign-on directory. If you are creating a new single sign-on user that do not exist yet on the single sign-on directory, then the first and last name you put here will be associated with the above email address. I would suggest to AWS to make this email field a drop-down list which allow you to select an existing email or provide you a search box where you could type an email and see if that email already exists on the single sign-on directory, and then you could choose an existing one, and in that case the first name and last name fields would not be displayed. And only in the case you decide to create a new single sign-on user, those two fields will then be displayed. Simple, right? So AWS, feel free to reach me whenever you have a new console feature. If you want some feedback, I'm more than pleased to provide that feedback to you. So send me an email, drop me a message here on the comments, and let me know, okay? So in case you are creating a new single sign-on, AWS will send an invitation email to the address you have provided here, and then with that email you will be able to define a new password for your single sign-on user and then have access to the account. So finally, you will need to choose on which organizational unit you will enroll or create your new account. And this is quite important, given that guardrails are enabled at organizational unit level. So you need to consider that and add your account to an organizational unit where the enabled policies make sense for your business, okay? So I will not go further with method number one, because as we have seen already, there are a lot of things where it's not really clear or it's not as straightforward as it should be. So let's jump into method number two and see why this is my preferred method and is the one I recommend you to use whenever you want to enroll an existing account. Stay tuned. AWS Unboxing Services, AWS Unboxing Services. So let's see what method 2 is about. So with this second method, to bring an existing account to the management and governance of Control Tower, what you need to do is to register an organizational unit that is not yet managed or governed by Control Tower, or to re-register an organizational unit that is already managed and governed by Control Tower. So let's see why this is my preferred method. So if we go and check on the accounts page, we can see that there are two accounts that are not yet enrolled. So we have existing account in a single word, and then we have another account with spaces, which has spaces separating each word. What I'm going to do now is to use the AWS Organizations service to move these two accounts that are under the root container. And let me tell you that root is not an organizational unit, but a container that holds the management account and also the accounts that are not yet enrolled. So as I was saying, I'm going to use AWS Organizations to select these two accounts and move them into another OU. So let me select the accounts here, and now I'm going to click here on the Actions drop-down and select Move. So now I can select the organizational unit where I want these two accounts to go. And I'm going to select the OU named To Register. And if I go back on the Control Tower page, and if I click here on the organizational unit menu, you can see that to registered is not yet managed and governed by Control Tower. So on the AWS organizations page, I can click now on Move AWS Account button, and as you can see, these two accounts are now under this to register OU. So back on the Control Tower page and on the organizational unit page, if I select the to register OU and then I click on the register OU button. So we are now on a new page where we can see what are the accounts that we are enrolling, okay, as part of this organizational unit registration process. And we can see the name of the accounts. So we can see that there is the name in a single word and then the other account that has spaces separating each word, and also the email being used by each account. So below we also have some information about the process. So namely roles and permissions and some pre-checks that are important in case your existing account have already some usage. So if that is your case, read this carefully because maybe you will need to do some cleanup before you can enroll your existing account, okay? And as you can see, there is also a list of the mandatory guardrails that are going to be enabled on this OU and therefore on these two accounts that we are enrolling. And also we will need to acknowledge that we understand all that has been said above, and we can then register our account. And before I click on the register organizational unit button, I want to call your attention to the fact that I'm using this method to enroll more than one account. So with this method, you can enroll up to 300 accounts, okay? And also that with this method, there is a lot of information that you don't need to provide. Some of the times, as we have seen with method number one, useless information. So you don't need to worry with the display name field. Also, you don't need to worry with the single sign-on user. So with this method, it's the email address that is associated with this account is that email that is going to be used for the single sign-on user, okay? And also, like I said, you can also enroll accounts having spaces on the name without having to go first on the target account and create manually that Control Tower execution role. So this is why, for me, this process is much easier and straightforward than method number one. And this is the method I recommend you to enroll an account. So let me click here on the register this OU and let's wait until this is finished. AWS Unboxing Services, AWS Unboxing Services. Here we are again. So it didn't take too much to register this OU, and as we can see, the two accounts that were part of this organizational unit are now stating as enrolled. So this is all I have prepared for this second round of AWS Unboxing Services. I hope that this video has made the process of enrolling an existing account into the management and governance of Control Tower much easier. And so I want to thank you for watching this video. Stay tuned because more rounds will come pretty soon. And until then, don't forget to practice. AWS Unboxing Services, AWS Unboxing Services, AWS Unboxing Services, AWS Unboxing Services. See you soon. AWS Unboxing Services, AWS Unboxing Services.